Welcome back to Fullerton College's Pre-Press Print 75 and 77 combined lecture. This is Professor Ben Hewitt. Today we're going to talk about the PIA's Pre-Press Trainee Manual, Module 3.2, Client Analysis. Hopefully you've watched my very loosely related video for this one because this is one of my very favorite videos to share from one of my very favorite movies. And it actually does do a decent job of talking about analyzing the person you're talking to and figuring out them from what they tell you and what you can divine of them. Anyways, client analysis is more than just murdering your friends with poison goblets. It is actually a big deal. Unfortunately for us, this particular chapter is going to be rather text heavy on the screen, so I'll try not to put you to sleep too badly. So we're looking at some issues with clients and what they cause us and what they cost us and what we have to do to keep them. Because without clients, we don't exist. I should start with that statement. Rewind, everybody. Hi, this is Professor Ben Hewitt. And without clients, your print shop doesn't exist. Somebody needs to be buying your prints from you. Otherwise, you're not in business. So we have to work with clients. We can't avoid that. Clients cause problems with files that they make. There's different types of customers looking for different things. And we want to figure out how to work with dealing with them who make their own files and how to approach it. There's also a bit more in-depth version of client analysis I'll talk about. And some of this stuff, depending on your mood and your attitude as you read it, could either sound like a good idea or it can sound kind of creepy. And really, it's all in the execution on this one. A good deal of good client work or working with clients, good client management is actually just being honest and ethical. If you can be honest and ethical and really genuinely try to care for people and help people in your business without giving away the shop, you're going to do well in business, because in the end, that's what people are going to want. They're going to want honest, loyal, and reliable. That's what they're looking for, not just crazy good at what they do, because even crazy competence can seem kind of off-putting to people who don't know the field. In the end, like the last bullet point on this slide, we're talking about trying to achieve customer satisfaction. Our goal with clients is not to make a quick sale. Our goal is to establish a relationship, make sure that they're satisfied with our work, and be business partners for years to come, where you can provide them all of their graphical needs on all of their printed materials and all of their communication and marketing, and you become kind of like a little part of their company. And if you can create that type of relationship, that's going to make a very successful print business. And I can say this not just from the slides, but because I have worked at different types of print shops, all of them small, throughout my career here in SoCal as a printer. And I can tell you that there are very different approaches that I've seen done. And the one that was far more successful of the ones I worked for, the most successful one was the one that did things the most ethically. The one that tried to never do anything shady and tried to always maintain good relationships with customers. That one did a much better job than the one that was always looking to make a quick buck. Because trying to make a quick buck is predatory and not team-oriented. It's very selfish. So anyways, I also did better at that last shop because I myself don't really abide people doing sleazy things. I really can't stand it. And I really, really can't stand being asked to be sleazy. So don't you ask me to be sleazy. It's not what I do. Thank you very much. Anyways, let's move on. Too much soapboxing. So we've talked about already in this class and in these books how the existence of desktop publishing and the ability to create graphical files destined for actual public consumption via print or other sort of distribution methods at home on a computer has really changed the graphical world from a very closed off professional world of only people who are properly trained working with each other business to suddenly dealing with everybody. This means everybody at home. And especially now, if you're making use of student fees, anyone can rent themselves a copy of the Adobe Creative Cloud. And lots of clients do often also have some cousin, some nephew, some person they know or are related to who's totally a legitimate designer because they totally have Photoshop and a computer in their garage. They'll do as good a job as someone who's actually been training, gone to school for graphics and art, right? Because they've got a computer. Anyways, I'm also soapboxing again. Sorry, guys. So this means that anyone can do this. This means that the variance, the possible difference between file to file from client to client is much greater than it used to be. All sorts of craziness can happen that used to almost never happen, because when you're only working with other professionals, you're getting professional things sent to you. Now, printing is becoming a gateway. I don't mean like we need to be gatekeepers and stop it, but we are now not just a place that helps businesses print, but we are a place that allows the amateurs to get a taste of professional production. And it's an interesting time to live in. So we need to be able to facilitate documents coming from customers, successfully output them and get them ready to print and repair if you have to, and get those things output, and figure out those that are not, to fix them. We also need to make sure that we learn the different types of common mistakes and try to figure out what they are so we can fix them. But then the mistakes aren't always the biggest problem we face with our clients. Okay, so the process. One of the challenges is understanding what's going on with printing. When one of the other things that we used to have, other than the kind of professional banter of me saying, "Yeah, can you believe all these people don't know what they're doing now?" But actually, the more scary part of it from a business standpoint is not that the customer doesn't know what they're doing, but the customer doesn't know what you're doing. Back when we worked only with other professionals, back in the days of rubber cement, X-Acto knives, and light tables, and people who spent half their lifetime learning the art and the craft and the trade, and to having people's, friends, cousins, that kid down the street who's totally a graphic designer because he has a computer, they don't necessarily know what we do. They don't have the expectations of how the process is going to happen. And just not having information can cause big panics. If you don't believe me, spend a couple of years learning about the Cold War and how important it was to the United States and to Russia for their satellites when they got them going to get overflights, espionage overflights over the Soviet Union to see if they were bluffing or not and what they were doing back there. How many nuclear armed bombers did they actually have? Were there hundreds of bombers, or were they, as it turned out, simply painting different numbers on the backs of the planes and flying them by observers over and over and over again to look like a bigger fleet? Only actual knowledge can help with that. And just misunderstanding each other for 50 years kept the world at a constant point of possible nuclear annihilation at any minute. I know, I grew up in the very last bit of this. My childhood started with the umbrella of, the under the shadow of the nuclear umbrella covering the world. And thankfully I got to witness things like the general fall of communism and the end of passive aggressive hostilities with the rest of the world there. Anyways, sorry for the tangent, but I'm just saying that understanding what's going on and understanding processes is a big deal towards comfort and trust. If they don't understand us, it's going to be harder for them to trust us. And if you want a better example of this, just think about, sorry, I lost myself for a moment as there's preschool sounds in the background. Think about the most common places that we deal with, we as printers. When you work with someone outside your specialty, doing something that you need and cannot do for yourself and don't understand, you get into strange headspaces about being able to trust them. If you don't believe me, here's the two examples to think of, and I don't mean anything negative against our neighbors across the hall on campus. Automotive repair. What do you think of car repair shops? Do you think they're all trustworthy and doing their best job, or do you think they're trying to cheat and embezzle you out of your money and find ways of sabotaging your car so they make more money off of you? I know it's not all car shops. There's a lot of really good mechanics out there, but there is that typical kind of reputation. Also, used car sales. Think about that. How do you think of used car sales places? Are they going to tell you everything and be upfront with you about their process? Or are they going to try to get you off the lot with the most expensive thing they can and have it run just until the warranty expires? I'm not necessarily saying they're all bad, but there's some reputations out there. And then the last one, plumbers. I know I'm just picking on other trades here, and a lot of them are just as professional and good as we are in our trade. But there's a reputation out there because people don't understand what they're doing. So when the plumber comes to your house and tells you that they need to unclog your drain and then realize they have to replace part of the pipe because it's bad, There's no way over the phone you said, hey, my sink isn't draining, that they're going to know they have to replace the pipe from your house all the way to the street. And so to the uninformed, to people who just don't know, it feels an awful lot like they're being cheated, when in fact it's simply the other person not knowing what they're facing yet and learning what you're doing. Sorry, I'm glancing at my time and it's not looking great. Anyways, I got lost in my thought there. Apologies. Wonder if I should start over. Nah, we keep going. But anyways, by not understanding the process of a plumber or an auto mechanic yourself, it's easy to mistrust them. If you know how cars work, then you're not so worried when you send it off to get repaired. So you're like, well, I know what they're going to do. They're going to fix the brakes. And that means this, this, and this. Or, oh yeah, the plumbing guy is going to look at these kinds of problems and see what the issue is. It's when you don't understand the process that you start to get kind of nervous and wondering and suspicious. And they're kind of sus. Pink is sus, right? Anyways, yeah, I started playing that. And don't forget that the competition is out there. If the customer starts to distrust you, to think that you're trying to cheat them or milk more money out of them when you don't need to, they are very quickly going to find somebody else to print the job for them. I don't know how many of you have started looking for work in the print industry out here, but one of the things you might notice is there's actually a ton of print shops, especially in OC. Orange County, especially in the northern part of Orange County where our school is one of the kind of the hubs of printing in California. And California is one of the hubs of printing in the country. Just saying. We do a lot of printing because a lot of manufacturing and import-export happens in California. So a lot of packaging needs to be created. Anyways, there are a lot of print shops out there. And if you can't do it, or if your client feels they can't trust you, they have plenty of other options. They can just, in some cases, literally walk across the street to the adjacent parking lot and talk to the other print shop and see if they can do a more honest, better job. So be ready. I'm going to stop here and come in for a second video in a little bit.